Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
What's going on, guys? It's Tom here from The Razor's Edge, and I'm here with Megan and Ed of Forlorn. How are we doing, guys? Are we well?
Yeah, good, thank you.
All good, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
No, thanks for coming on. It's graciously appreciated this Monday evening. So, but what I want to do is I want to go for the real hard-hitting shit straight away, which was, how was your guys' pandemic? How have the last few years been for you? Dare I ask?
born and molded by the pandemic as a band, I believe. So we released our first double single on Valentine's Day in 2020 and had all these sort of amazing plans, and then sort of a month or so later it was all sort of empty calendar, everyone's shut in their house, and that was kind of it. So we just basically started off as a band in the pandemic, really, in that sense, because we had to try and sort of adapt to what was essentially going to be the foreseeable at that point. We didn't really know when things were going to open, when we could play a gig, or, you know, actually sort of be a proper band, as it were. So we just sort of looked at other things that we could do in terms of content creation, and just kept writing songs, really.
Yeah, I think, it's like Ed says, really. I feel like it's quite surprising, really, to have that happen like so early on in the band's career. But I think it says a lot for the fact that we powered through it and made the best of it, and are finally like no longer an internet band.
Yeah. Because obviously, I imagine releasing that double single, you're like, right, here we go. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. What do you mean we can't go outside? What do you mean everything's shut down? Oh, for a few weeks. Oh, okay, that'll be fine. Months? What do you mean? Years? I mean, it feels crazy. It was 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like, it's such an odd time in life that we'll probably never have experienced ever again. But happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because like even now, where, you know, these gigs are open, I think it's people are having this sort of weird awakening, like dissonance between what events were like when things first opened and what they're like now. Meg and I were both at Download this year, for instance, and it was sold out and absolutely heaving with people, and I couldn't even envision, you know, how I would have felt about that maybe a year and a half prior, when things had just opened, being thrust into that situation. I think I would have just been, you know, having on and off panic attacks in that situation.
Oh, dude. Yeah, because everyone was like, as soon as you cough, people are like, get away from me right now.
Yeah.
Like, I want you nowhere near. But now it's just like normal.
Yeah.
Such a crazy time in life. Anyway, let's move away. Let's go right back to the beginning. What actually made you want to be a musician in the first place? What made you, you know, pick up a guitar or fancy drums or singing or anything like that?
Oh, that's for you. That's definitely for you, Ed.
Oh my God. I'm trying to think really hard about this, because I wanted to play guitar from quite a young age. Sort of our primary school, we had like a local sort of musician, like outsourced musician school, and they used to come and do showcases at our primary school.
Okay.
I was always really captivated with the people playing classical guitar. They have these cool classical guitars, they're playing cool tunes, they've got these nice little ribbons on the tuning pegs. I was like, I want a piece of that. And I just sort of hassle my parents like once a quarter when they come to our school and be like, can I have a guitar lessons, please? And they'd be like, no. And then there was years and years of doing that, basically, and they caved in when I was 14. But actually, trying to remember, I just thought guitars were really cool. I think in a lot of sort of media as such, when we were kids, like in cartoons and stuff, always the coolest character in the show would be playing guitar, and I want to be the cool guy, I guess. But I've always loved music, and my dad's always really heavily been into sort of guitar music and grunge and stuff like Radiohead and Nirvana. Fun story about Nirvana: we listened to the greatest hits so many times, me and my brothers, when we were around sort of 10ish, when I was 10, that he literally stormed in, took the CD off us, and gave us like the first two Foo Fighters albums instead, just for something different. But
I mean, great band again.
I suppose it's probably Foo Fighters that would have sort of turned me on to more guitar-driven music when I was younger. And then I had an old brother who got into all the new metal stuff as that was coming out, and that's basically how I've ended up here.
What about you, Meg? Anyone influenced you at all?
So I kind of started singing and screaming a bit later on, really. I've only been doing it for about seven or so years now. And I started screaming first. Um,
Oh,
yeah. And because I never had any like training or anything, I picked up a few instruments when I was younger. I was learning the cello for a bit, the viola, the violin, had a few guitar lessons, bit of piano, but nothing really kind of, I don't know, nothing grabbed onto me really.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, just started screaming in my car, as we all do. I used to drive,
Okay.
like, I used to do some really long journeys. And when I was working for Basic Records in London, I used to like travel home back to Dorset quite a bit. So I'd have like good 2 hour drives pretty much every week. And I just started like screaming in the car, like, which is definitely not the way to learn. Very dangerous. Don't do it. um, and then yeah, I just take little recordings of myself and show people, be like, "Oh, what do you think of that?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's all right." And yeah, just carried on doing it and started sort of adding more singing into the mix. Um, so yeah, I really just kind of fell into it. I didn't have any sort of proper training or lessons as a kid. I wish I had, but yeah.
So are you fully self-taught?
For the most part, I've had a few lessons on and off, and I've actually just started some proper coaching over the last
Okay.
couple of weeks. But yeah, aside from that, pretty much self-taught.
What were you screaming to in the car?
It was a band called Hang the Bastard.
I've heard of them. I've never listened to them, but I've heard of them.
Yeah, I think they're from Brighton. And I just had one of their CDs, and I just started screaming along just to see if I could make that noise or not.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and that's it. That's my story.
I would have loved to have been in the car, like driving next, just being like, what is going on there? That'd been great.
I was probably speeding. I remember like driving past Stonehenge and just screaming, "Hang the bastard."
I love it. Absolutely love it.
So
Um, what? Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. What actually? What made you come up with the name Forlorn? What drove you to that?
that's a bloody good question. That I think we were presented with an initial name which we all didn't like by a former member, and
Which
then
was
so we all, it was it was like a Pokemon name, and then we're like, that's the name of a Pokemon, and he was just like, no, it's not, and we're like, well, it is. We're not we're not being called that. Um, so I think we all set about trying to find. I think we wanted to be just a one word band because everyone was sort of rapidly. They were, like in metalcore, especially, it was something the something, or the something something, and it was just seemed like a lot. Um, so we wanted a simple one word name, and I think it was our drummer Jay who suggested Forlorn. And so when we all looked up at the definition of basically just being tragic or just exceptionally sad, and we just thought, well, the content of like the first two songs alone were quite sort of sad in the sense that we just felt like those songs feel like they're very much about watching the world and the human race just end itself basically, which in itself is quite would bring someone into a feeling of feeling forlorn. So we're like, well, it makes sense, goes with the themes of the music. Then we just sort of went from there, really.
No. I'm always intrigued because like I know a lot of bands hate that question, but I'm always intrigued by how they got there, because obviously there's so many bands these days. There are so many. And obviously I'm always intrigued by how the name process works, because obviously everything pretty much must be taken by now.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of forlorns lurking.
I think I found a Swedish one. I was like, I'm pretty sure they're not Swedish.
That's the old one, and hopefully the guy never listens to it, but he messaged us one day and told us that we couldn't have the name anymore.
Mm.
But it wasn't like a proper cease and desist. It was like him being like, well, you're not the real Forlorn, I'm the real Forlorn. And we looked it up and it's like, and they used to be signed to Napalm Records and all that in the 90s. But I did a proper deep dive on it. And I was like, well, you're not even on the alumni part of their website anymore. So I don't think anyone cares. Sorry, mate. We're going to keep you. Like,
yeah, I think it's a free reign, free for all when that happens. When they're been together since like 2002 or 4. That's like years. So I think you're golden. So how did you guys find the Forlorn sounds? Like, what drove you to the metalcore, the heavier side of metal?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think that is a tough one because I feel like when we started out, like we had quite a few different subgenres in the mix. So I think we went through a few different phases before we came to what I feel is now kind of our sound. What do you think about that, Ed? Would you say that's the same for you?
Yeah, so if you listen to sort of older material that's not as down tuned, so that stuff's in like just regular drop B, you kind of hear where we sort of play shoegaze, noise, and lots of other sort of subgenres of metalcore, and there's some more hardcore bits in there, some bits that are a bit more sort of deathcore, techie. But I think we just kind of, it was when we were writing the most recent singles, we just wanted to simplify the songwriting. Was like, well, how can we make things heavy but also focus on having complete and decent song structures in our songs, whilst also keeping some of the post elements that keep it feeling large and expressive and almost sort of borderline cinematic as well. And it just made sense to sort of jump from using regular guitars to using a baritone, because it felt like it was a more easily achievable sound by simply just lowering the tuning. So in short, guitar go brr worked for us basically.
I think it became obvious as well that like people or our listeners were more drawn to like that kind of big atmospheric, cinematic kind of style, particularly with like, how well the weight of it all has been received. I feel like that's what, and even when like Erased came out as well, I feel like that's what our listeners like. So I think, that's kind of told us that we should be going further down that rabbit hole, basically.
Yeah. Because when I was listening to you guys today and I went through the whole back catalogue, like the early stuff is like brutal, like really heavy. And then obviously the more later stuff, now that you say is more cinematic, is, there's a lot more singing now as well as screaming at the same time. Whereas obviously earlier days were just like full on, let's just go hell for leather. But like you mentioned, your latest single, The Weight of It All, is first of all, I'm not saying it's because you're here, phenomenal, absolutely love it, hell of a tune.
Thank you.
But I'm also a massive sucker for a piano track. And obviously Love You to Death was just like, I was just, when you're going through, I was like, oh, I was not expecting this. And it's stunning song. I loved it. Absolutely love it. Lyrics wise then, Megan, like, are they very personal to you? Are they story based? Are they political? Like, what sort of avenue do you go down with those?
So the first, the sort of the beginnings of the band, the very first singles were all very like Ed said, like nature based, like the destruction of nature and what part we play in that. But sort of more recently, I've been kind of influenced by, I read a lot of books, I watch a lot of films and stuff. So it's kind of when I'm listening to like the instrumental, what kind of comes at me, like visually. So if like, oh, this reminds me of, I don't know, like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack or something like that. That's kind of where I'll take my inspiration from.
Okay.
There are like Hold Me was quite a personal track, like about like family situations and things. But otherwise, yeah, I'm mostly inspired by like art, film and books really. And obviously the witchcraft element as well.
Yeah, I read that you're defined as midsummer metal.
Yeah.
Like, any idea what that is? Because I'm not entirely sure. I'm not into the whole paganism thing and everything. Like, I'm an idiot. So, like, forgive my ignorance.
That was Alex Baker from Kerrang that gave us that
Okay.
genre.
Any ideas what it is? Realistically?
Ed?
I suppose what he means is that we're basically like an A24 film if an A24 film was a heavy metal band, basically. I think that's what he means.
Okay.
That one,
Yeah.
specifically with the imagery and the themes of our music, and just the set, in general, I suppose. But
yeah, like the flower crowns as well.
mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, decent. No, I've never experienced anything quite like it. So when I was doing research, I was just going, I have no, but then I don't want to come across as like an absolute twat and be like, this midsummer stuff, this paganism stuff. Yeah, of course I know all about that. Yes. We mentioned the weight of it all earlier. You said was it quite well received?
The best one so far, I believe.
Yeah, still
That's
going
awesome.
strong as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you're on the up, basically.
Yeah, hopefully.
I would imagine so. I don't know how much you could talk about it, but like, is there more? I take it there's more coming.
Yes. So we're doing something quite special in late July. Which I can't say anything about at the moment, but it will be, if you follow us on our social media, it'll be apparent that it's happened. So maybe you should do that if you're listening to this, please. And then we're playing UK Tech Metal Festival this weekend on the 30th of June. And the week after that, we're going into the studio to record an extended release with a producer called Sam Bloor, who does all the stuff with Black Coast and has more recently done the Graphic Nature album, which is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't heard that. So, yeah.
I will definitely check that out. Yeah, they're playing Radar Festival?
Tech Fest.
Tech Fest.
They are playing Tech Fest on the Sunday. So
yes. Are you excited for that this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be great. Loads of mates there playing as well. It's a really good opportunity to sort of meet new people as well and get to know some bands. It's just a really lovely sort of independent, really, really friendly atmosphere type of festival. And it's a real shame that this is going to be the last one for the foreseeable. But
is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Any reason? Do you know why?
There's a long post about it on their page. So
okay, I'll go check that. Yeah. Sorry, I know that's not what we're here for. That was just news to me. Sorry, it was just like an instant reaction.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things.
That's a question. Yeah.
But like you said, we've got the Radar Festival coming up as well at the end of July, and I imagine obviously you're buzzing for that as well. The lineup looks unbelievable, like absolutely incredible. Do you prefer a festival show or a gig, or is it just that they're completely different beasts?
We've not really done any festivals, have we, apart from Mangata, but that was inside.
Yeah, I mean that still counts because it had multiple stages and it was all on the same day.
We've not done like anything like open air though, have we?
No, but Radar I think is inside, is it not, this year?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're just going to be, because we've had a bit of a break off playing shows. So we haven't played a show since February this year. So I think we're all just really itching to get back to it, and to be able to share the stage with some of the acts on Sunday as well. It's going to be great. Like Loathe obviously killing it at the moment. Periphery headlining, 1056 as well as a personal favourite of mine. Lake Malice as well. So many good bands playing on Sunday alone, let alone Sleep Token on Friday.
Yeah,
and everyone else. So
was it quite weird going back out on stage after the whole pandemic thing and whatnot? Like we were saying earlier about how, you know, it was a bit, when you went to download, it was rammed. But obviously a few years back would have been like, not quite sure about this. So when you first got back out there, was it quite weird playing gigs again?
Well, it was weird trying to secure them because we hadn't actually had the opportunity to play live at all. So we've been a band for like almost 2 years at that point and never played a show, but released 4 singles and a cover. So, you know, trying to secure our first ever show, and I remember we just had the worst time even just trying to get to one. So we were supposed to play this sort of all-day festival thing in Reading at the Face Bar, and then that got postponed because a lot of the bands had COVID. So that got pushed to, I think, was that last year, 2022?
Yeah, it was May, wasn't it? Was it May?
Yeah, it was in May. You're right. And then we had that other one in Southampton, and then it was the storm, so everywhere was closing down.
Yeah.
So we couldn't play that, and I think we just ended up. We were very lucky. We ended up being able to get on a show in Plymouth supporting Svalbard.
Oh yes.
So that was our first ever show, and I believe was that was towards the end of the year, or was it early 2022? I can't remember.
No, that was March. That was March 2022, and then we did the Devil tour like a few weeks later.
Yeah,
I mean,
which was
to talk about like initial gigs, to support Svalbard and then to support Devil Sold His Soul is like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the saying? What is it, Ed? Into the frying pan. What? Out of the frying pan into the fire.
And into the fire. Yeah. That's very, very much what it was. It felt very silly to be receiving that offer after, you know, struggling to secure anything up until that point in terms of gigs, because we just wanted to get out there and just see if what we'd done worked in a live setting, because it's fine, you know, playing the rehearsal room and it's, you know, all sounds good to all of you, but you know, you want to see how people think and feel about that in a live setting. And it was just very frustrating that these opportunities were either not being offered to us or just being taken away by sort of natural disasters, as it were.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get an offer this national tour that's, you know, and it's like, what was it, like our 6th ever show, been playing at the O2 Islington, opening up for Devil Sold His Soul. It's just like absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. I don't know how we didn't have panic attacks over that week, like, honestly.
Yeah, I think we were all so hyped and happy to be there that I think we sort of averted any mental health issues that might arise from having pressure on us.
Doesn't that go to show, though, the testament of what you've achieved musically with the songs you've released, you know, over the pandemic and whatnot, to get given, like, the gods obviously looked down and went, no, you will not be doing a Reading show, nor a Southampton, but Devil Sold His Soul, however, you will definitely be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like we were being saved, you know, they were saving the best ones.
Absolutely. I mean, I truly believe in everything happens for a reason. Like I've always believed in that. I think there's always when the shit hits the fan, there's always something better on the horizon. It's like it has to get really bad first before it gets even better. So like I'm begin to imagine how frustrating it must have been when things are getting cancelled left, right, and centre. It's like, just someone could give us a chance. Which obviously then Devil Sold His Soul went, absolutely, yes, come play with us.
Yeah, they did. All absolutely lovely guys. Be forever grateful for that opportunity. Like, just beyond our wildest dreams at that point.
Yeah,
and it just gets better and better from here. Like you say, Tech Fest this weekend, and then Radar Festival coming at the end of July. It's going to be unbelievable scenes. So, are there any? I don't know how much you can talk about this either. Any future tour plans coming? As I was going to ask about an album, but I'm assuming there's possibly something in the works there. Like I know, obviously, there's a lot of NDAs and stuff. So, any tour plans coming up that we could talk about?
well, we have got another, I think we've got another show later in the year, but we are in talks with a booking agent at the moment. So I think, there will be some things in the pipeline. As to what those plans are yet, we don't know.
Okay.
But yeah.
Essentially, with you guys, it's watch this space.
There's going to be some shows for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll definitely keep the old eyes peeled. This is a question I love asking musicians, and I know obviously you're pretty much you were a pandemic band and now obviously starting to get out there, but music videos, guys, and I mean about actually making them, come up with the concept, etc. Love them or hate them?
Oh, it depends upon the conditions. I love spending all day with guys, and Adam and Rich, who sort of helped us put together the videos and filmed them and edited them for us, are absolutely top blokes. So always happy to spend the day with the two of them and all the guys in the band. But also the video for The Weight of It All, it was absolutely freezing. And I think we were all sort of just hanging on by a thread for the whole day, in terms of, like body heat and just wanting to go home basically, because it's just so cold. It just seems so silly to be, well, I for one had to put my hand in a frozen pond full of frozen water, which is lovely. And just things like that. But I guess it depends upon how fun the shoot is itself. I feel like there's been loads of fun elements to ours. I think I actually prefer shooting all the narrative stuff a lot more than I do like doing the performance shots. Because Adam would just be really strict, and he'd be like whipping us. He's like, do a kick, all right now. No, I headbang really low. He's like just calling out all these things for us to do. All the songs he's playing. It's just very intense.
It is intense, yeah. No circle headbanging.
That table scene as well on Hold Me was quite funny.
Yeah.
What about you, Megan? Are you partial to a video, or?
I do like doing videos, yeah. They're definitely very long days, but I think that just shows how like thorough Adam and Rich are at Purple Yam. They get more than they need content wise, and that just means that they can, they've got so many different options when it comes to editing, and it's why we always end up with what I think are interesting music videos rather than just one shot and that's it. I do quite like it. I like all the girly stuff, like thinking what am I going to wear, what props am I going to bring, that sort of thing. So yeah, I do quite enjoy them. But yeah, I'm always glad to get home because it is a shift for sure. Yeah, it's a good 12-hour day.
Yeah, I suppose because narrative videos now are so few and far between, like they used to be back in the day. I mean, a lot of people now just go, make a lyric video, fucking put it up, who cares? But so yeah. I think massive fair play to you, obviously coming up with concepts and whatnot, and still filming narrative videos, because they're a dying breed, so we need to keep them alive.
Quite an important part of our image as well. It's how we kind of show what we're all about, really. Yeah, for us, it's not really just making music. There's this whole kind of art concept behind it as well. So yeah, videos are quite important for us, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, guys, I mean, this has been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Mondays to sit and chat to me. Before I do let you get out of here, are there any plugs, any social medias, any websites, anything you want people to go and check out at all? Go
on, Ed.
All right. Yeah, so as previously mentioned in this episode, if you can follow us on our social medias. So on Twitter, we are all Forlorn. So we are all Forlorn as one thing, and we're that on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or hit us up on Spotify if your interest has been piqued by this. Go and give us a listen. And yeah, just keep an eye on socials because we've got some exciting stuff coming out soon. So
wonderful. And yeah, I wish you every success with Tech Fest this weekend, with Radar Festival at the end of July, and with all the special stuff coming out and whatnot. I'll be keeping my eyes peeled. So yeah, go absolutely smash it, guys, and thank you so much.
No,
amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with future episodes by subscribing to our channels. For more information on this podcast, or for all the latest music news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website, www.forlorn.co.uk. therazorsedge.rocks.